Hello everybody, I am Korie Blyveis. I'm with the Cass County Conservation District. We've been tasked with running the soil erosion and sedimentation control program that the County Board of Commissioners assigned us to. There I am with my new outfit and my new uniform, and as an inspector, I'm there to enforce Part 91, which basically says to keep all of your dirt on your own site. That requires anyone within 500 foot of a lake or stream to get a soil erosion control permit, which costs $125 to $175 each, depending on the size. But everybody has to keep the dirt on their own site. The biggest tool that we use, the most important tool, is the silt fence. The silt fence is not a pretty thing. It's a black sheet of plastic. And it's most effective when it's actually installed correctly. Now what you see here is a large site, over many acres. They use silt fence, they use basins, but they didn't use it enough. They didn't use enough of it, and so it caused a problem. And so I have to send a notice of violation when that happens. So these notices of violation require that people fix their problems within 5 days after they get the notice. And I had to work in that particular situation with other agencies, and it happens a lot. I work with the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. I report to them. They audited us within months of me taking over the program. I work with MDOT, work with the road commissions. And then after the violation is sent and everything's worked out, we get a better result. Here on the other side, they got the erosion control blanket up, they got silt fence in place, so now we're ready for that grass to grow. I also work with recreational different facilities. This is the county park, and you can see the sediment curtain that's used in the St. Joe River, or Dowagiac River there. That curtain is used whenever there's a project that goes below the high water mark. That's a DEQ requirement. When it's above the high water mark, then we just use silt fence, and this is along the lake shore, so it goes right up to the water, and then they just have to have a silt fence to keep the dirt from going through. Now in this case, we're not right next to a lake or a stream, but there's a wetland nearby or a lake nearby, and this is improperly used where the dirt is being retained. It's the silt fence being used as a retaining wall. It's actually spilling over on the backside. This is where silt fence is just not used right at all. So there was a flooding issue, and so somebody on site decided they needed to let the water go through, so they just lifted the silt fence up and let all the dirt go. We often have different projects there. We have a small project here, but big equipment. And that's a concern, that the equipment will track dirt out onto the road. So I require people to sweep the roads when they're bringing their equipment back and forth. The most important thing, really, besides the silt fence, is to get grass established as quickly as possible. So if you can get that grass growing, then we won't have this situation where grass is not going to grow now. It needs to be, better taken care of to begin with. I actually saw this site from the other side of the lake and said, what the heck's going on over there? Lots of dirt right next to the lake kind of scares the soil erosion control inspector. But they're keeping it on site. I work with large projects along utility, transmission, lines, and they're actually doing a great job using check dams, and all of their controls are in place. We just did an inspection, and it was awesome. After a huge rain event, they were still good. There's times when the erosion controls are put up after the fact. Oh, got to try to fix it, and then it's not working good. The neighbor doesn't like it, so they throw some stuff in. Sediment goes to the neighbor's property. In this case, their neighbor's pond got sediment into it, so they had to restore it. So to go in and dig out the dirt that had gone to the neighbor's property. And that is still an ongoing project, trying to fix that whole situation. But what I found, besides trying to do the enforcement there, is the tool that I've created is to try to start in the beginning with education. So I reworked a brochure to try to get people to understand what they need to do to control the stormwater, to install the silt fence correctly, showing them the examples, And to keep drainage in mind, where is the water coming from to begin with? Because a lot of times people are just thinking about where it goes from their own property, but it's coming across their land. So they have to consider all that. And I already went over my time.
Great.